Bienvenidos, benvindo to the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here, the only English language podcast devoted to South America's premier club competition. I'm your host, Howard Hamilton, the founder of Soccermetrics. 8 will become 4 after this week of Libertadores play. 2 of the quarterfinal ties are all Brazilian matchups, but the scene will shift away from Rio de Janeiro to Sao Paulo, Belo Horizonte, Montevideo, and Buenos Aires. All 8 teams are separated by, at most, 1 goal. It's all set up to be a dramatic week. In this episode, I'll preview the return legs of all 4 quarterfinal ties. Remember that if any tie ends level on aggregate at the conclusion of the second leg, penalty kicks will decide who advances to the semifinal. We start in the top half of the knockout bracket. Atlético Mineiro hosts Fluminense in Belo Horizonte. The first leg ended 1-0 to Fluminense. Atlético Mineiro have been among the most talented teams in Libertadores and could be seen as legitimate contenders at the title. They have trailed off quite a bit since the early stage of the season. They're currently 9th in the Brazilian Championship. They did defeat Bragantino 3-0 in a match that was played with their reserves. Atletico's problem has been their injury list. They have a significant number of players who are out and will not feature in the match this week. They include Lorenzo Saravia, Otavio, Eduardo Vargas, and Matias Zaracho. The key players, the players who are available for Mineiro and have been key for them consistently throughout the majority of the season, will be Hulk and Paulinho. These are 2 players who are in the top 10 in non-penalty expected goals. Their midfield trident of Alan Franco, Paso Vera, and Gustavo Scarpa will also be key for Atletico in this match. It's important to point out that Alan Franco, currently on 2 yellow cards, will be suspended if he receives a 3rd yellow card. As for Fluminense, this is their season on the line. They have struggled with relegation concerns for the majority of the season in Brazil, and they are currently 18th in the Brasileirão, having lost 1-0 at home to Botafogo. They had an injury scare last week when Thiago Silva was submitted to medical scans, but he had been cleared of injury. So he will join Marcelo in the back line as 2 key players for Fluminense's chances in defense. A worrying concern for Fluminense is that no player for the team has scored more than 2 goals in the Libertadores. They will rely on Paulo Ganso, Herman Cano, and or Cala Elias. Paulo Ganso and Thiago dos Santos will be suspended on their next yellow card. I see this as a very tight encounter. I see this as an encounter with very few goal-scoring opportunities. I do believe that home advantage will be important, and Mineiro will find a way to defeat Fluminense. So at the end of this match, we will be assured of a new champion of South America. The other tie in the top half of the bracket sees River Plate host Colo-Colo in Buenos Aires. 1-1 in the tie after the first leg in Santiago, and a match in which players for both sides were sent off. River are currently 6th in Argentina's Liga Profesional, coming off a huge 1-0 defeat, 1-0 victory actually, at Boca Juniors. This was a match in which they played a significant number of reserves. They rested a number of starting players from last Wednesday, and they achieved a league victory. The key players for River, as always, will be Miguel Borja and also Facundo Colidio beside him. Now, Colidio has not scored a significant number of goals in Libertadores, but he has been successful in generating a significant amount of expected goal expected goals. So Colilio needs to convert those chances into goals to give River a greater chance of winning this tie. Paulo Diaz has been suspended. He was sent off in the first leg. And Miguel Borja will be suspended for River's next match in Libertadores if he receives a second yellow card, or a third yellow card. As for Colo-Colo, they are second in Chile's Primera División. Their weekend match has been moved 3 weeks to mid-October. Their chief scoring threats are from Javier Correa, Carlos Palacios, and Guillermo Paiva. Their creative threat, as always, will be from Leonardo Gil and significantly Arturo Vidal. Vidal's more of a defender, but he's taking on more of the creative responsibilities for Colo-Colo in the Libertadores. And beyond that, he is just a force of nature. Vidal's the leader of this team. As Vidal goes, Colo-Colo will also go. Maximiliano Falcon has been suspended for this match, and Brian Cortez and Eric Wingberg will be suspended for Colo-Colo's next Libertadores match if they receive a third yellow card. Now let's look at the third half of the bracket, at the lower half of the bracket, actually, and the third match in the quarterfinal ties. Sao Paulo hosts Botafogo after holding Botafogo to a goalless draw in Rio de Janeiro. Sao Paulo are currently 5th in the Brazilian Championship. They lost 3-1 to Internacional de Porto Alegre in a match in which they rested the majority of their players. Sao Paulo have been struggling for goals, and they know that this is a must-win match. They'll rely on Luciano and Luis Gustavo for their goal-scoring chances. Luis Gustavo is on the border of being suspended if he receives a third yellow card. Botafogo are currently top in the Brazilian division, and in the mind of a number of critics, are among the best teams playing in Brazil at the moment. They defeated Fluminense 1-0 in a match in which they demonstrated the depth of their squad. They rested 5 players, and they achieved that 1-0 victory despite not playing well in possession and in conversion of goal-scoring chances. They'll need to play better and do a better job at converting goal-scoring chances from either Marlon Freitas, Luis Enrique, or Jefferson Savarino. An emerging key player for Botafogo has been Thiago Almada. The midfielder who just arrived from Atlanta United has been the leader of the team in the midfield. The bulk of goal-scoring chances have been generated through him, and they will rely on him to create a positive result and a passage to the semifinal round of Copa Libertadores. The final tie of the round sees Peñarol host Flamengo in Montevideo. Peñarol achieved that famous 1-0 victory at the Maracanã. This is a team that is not only the best team among the second place group stage finishers, they're probably the best team playing right now in terms of XG performance. They've generated the highest XG per 90 minutes from open and set play. They're second in the Uruguayan Clausura. And they have 2 players in Leo Fernandez and Maximiliano Silveira, who are among the best players in goal-scoring capability and creative capability. Their goalkeeper, Washington Aguirre, will be suspended if he receives a third yellow card. As far as Flamengo is concerned, they're currently 4th in the Brazilian Championship. They lost 3 to the Grêmio over the weekend in a match in which a significant number of their first-choice players were rested. Flamengo have not been playing well recently by their standards. A number of people in Brazil already see them as having outside chance of the Brazilian Championship. They see that championship as a competition that has gotten away from Flamengo. So Their season is on the line in this week's match. They've struggled with injuries, but they've also struggled with inconsistent play. And that was in evidence in the first leg. A really interesting thing to observe is whether or not Gabriel Barbosa played significant minutes in this week's match. He's been used very little by Chiche since his return from suspension. And the play of Barbosa and De Arrascaeta will be key for Flamengo's chances in Montevideo. Now, as for players who are on the borderline and will be suspended if they receive a third yellow card, Eric Pulgar and Diego de la Cruz will be suspended if they receive a third yellow. And that wraps up the preview of the second leg of the Copa Libertadores quarterfinals. As a reminder that you can stream every match of the tournament on Fanatis or Fubo Sports. If you prefer to listen to radio broadcasts in Spanish or Portuguese, many clubs and affiliate radio stations stream their broadcasts online or on YouTube. If you want to follow me and send a comment or question, my X handle is @Soccermetrics. You can also send questions or comments to @SoccerDownHere or to Jason Longshore at Longshoe. We'll answer your questions about the tournament in a future episode, and we do appreciate your comments as we strive to make this show better. I'll be back on Thursday to wrap up the second legs of the quarterfinals and set the stage for the semifinal round. This has been the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here. See you later. Hasta luego. E até mais.